All right, I'm live. This was kind of an unannounced, I kind of mentioned that I was going live, but this is kind of unannounced, so I'll give people a minute to hop on. If you're watching the replay, feel free to comment below #replay so I know you saw it. And then I'm going to be taking some questions. And today I'm going to cover 3 questions to ask about your brand. So these are 3 very important questions or things to think about when it comes to your brand and marketing. I'm going to talk a little bit about Tax 101. And so right now, like I'm honestly procrastinating because I'm supposed to finish my taxes and I hate taxes. But I'm going to give you some from the research I've done. And obviously, I'm not an accountant or anything. So this is not professional financial advice. But I'm going to give you some from my research, my experience, and all that. I'm going to give you some tips on how to pay less taxes and what kind of stuff you should be doing with your business to maximize the tax laws and stuff like that. So it looks like a bunch of people are hopping on. If my internet's slow, it seems like it's doing all right, but if my internet's slow, it's probably because everyone's streaming the college basketball games. So I just got done playing basketball myself, more for health reasons or for to help my health as opposed to anything else. But yeah, that's one thing I will say is for a while in my business, probably like a year, I got so focused on succeeding and stuff that and this kind of goes in productivity. I got so focused on succeeding in my business and everything and having that instant response rate and all that I would just like skip going to the gym. I would skip fitness. I would start eating bad. I would lose sleep. And so that's one thing that I've really changed this year that's helped my results a lot. And it's allowed me to give my clients and do better content and everything, because one thing I learned is like how much energy you have is directly related to how much money you make essentially, or how successful you are if money's not your goal. And what do I mean by that? Like hangovers cost money, eating bad costs money. Not only does it cost the initial cost, but in the long run, your energy is your most valuable asset. And so if you have low energy because you've been eating bad and you're just eating junk food and your body's just like not performing well because of that, or if you drink too much at night and you're tired the whole next day, or if you're not getting adequate sleep because you're up on Instagram looking what other people are doing, then it's going to really affect your success, because you're not going to perform optimally. You're not going to be able to have those amazing ideas. You're not going to be able to think. And honestly, like whenever I'm tired, or like whenever I eat bad, or my health gets out of line, then I'm just like, I function way less. I'm just like, I have a bad mood. I get cranky. I do less work overall, and I'm just not that motivated compared to like right now when I'm feeling great. I just ran for like an hour. I've been eating healthy this whole week. And so that's one thing that I really want to emphasize is like your diet and your health and stuff like that makes a huge difference on your success. And so, yeah, today I'm going to be talking about some tax things as we're into tax season. If you haven't already done your taxes, and even as we're going through this year and you're growing your business, what you can do to maximize the tax law, to help yourself out, to really grow your business in a smart way, and what kind of things you should be keeping records of. And so I'm the worst at keeping records. Like I have like a Google Sheets that I use, but that's one of my goals is to either and I've hired an accountant the past couple of years, and that's really helped. So kind of knowing your strengths is one thing. And then I'm going to talk about 3 questions you should be asking about your brand. And so for those joining live, feel free to ask any questions and I'll cover them as I have time. Let's see. And then at the end of this, I'm going to be giving some really exciting updates. I've got multiple things coming out soon, so you really don't want to miss that. Cool. So let's talk about taxes first and get that out of the way. And the reason I do this is because even though I hate taxes and I hate having to pay them, it's very, very important to understand it as a business owner. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm not an accountant. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no formal training on this. And so this is all based on either my opinion or the research that I've been doing, what my accountant has been saying to me. And my accountant, she was actually an IRS agent for 7 years. So she was the one doing the audits and that person. And so she knows the tax law very well. And so that's kind of where I'm drawing on my experience. Now I know like every state has a little bit different tax law, and maybe if you're in a different country, you might have a little bit, but let me just give you the foundations of what I've experienced personally. So one thing, and let me break it down basic first, because even though you may think you know this, but I made a post about this recently, and every time I talk to somebody about taxes, it's obvious that that a lot of people don't understand it. And I mean, they don't teach this stuff in school, so that's fine. I'm going to teach you. So the first basic principle is you get taxed on how much money you make, obviously. So depending, and there's different tax brackets. So let's say you make 100 grand this year, then maybe you're in either the first or second tax bracket. And essentially all that means is you get taxed a percentage. And so I don't remember the exact percentages, but overall, it goes up. As you make more money, you're going to get taxed more. And so as you become more successful, you need to start building these habit patterns so that you can, by the time you're making a lot of money, then you can be prepared. And so let's say that, and the number one thing to know as a business owner is tax deductions. Like, what can you deduct? And so when I say deductions, let's say I make 10 grand this month. Well, if I have $2,000 in expenses, then I can deduct $2,000 from that 10,000. And so 10,000 minus 2,000 of expenses equals 8,000 of profit. And so I'll get taxed. If I deduct that 2,000 from my taxes, then I'll get taxed as if I made 8,000 instead of if I made 10,000. So once you start making more money, this really, really helps, because one, you can use it in a smart way, and by knowing these tax laws and at least knowing that they're out there, then you can start making sure that you're doing things that not only benefit you and help you, but it also saves you money. And so what are some things that, and like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, so I would always talk to an accountant or a professional when you're doing these things. Like, I wouldn't do your own taxes, especially as a business owner. So what are some things you can deduct? Well, the most obvious for you guys is supplies and rent. So let's say you spend $100 on supplies this week. Well, make sure you're writing that down so that you can deduct that from your total revenue. And when I say the difference between revenue and profit, revenue is the total amount of money you're getting in, and profit is revenue after expenses. So, and like I said, I didn't really go to college for this. I took an accounting class when I was doing a master's degree, but this is really all from doing research and just my own experience. And so some other common deductions. So you got your supplies, your rent. If you're renting out a room for like $1,000 a month or something, deduct that $1,000. That's pretty obvious. Let's see. Now, I've heard different things about this. Like some accountants, and you've got to find the right accountant, because a lot of this stuff it's really a lot of it's up for interpretation, I will say. So depending on your accountant, if they're afraid of getting in trouble or afraid of getting audited, or like when I say audited, if they're afraid of the IRS coming and snooping around and checking your records, then they may be more conservative, and you might want to find a different accountant. And so the reason I say that is because I've had one person say that their accountant said that they couldn't log the mileage from their house to their studio. And so I think that's bogus. Like, you can definitely log mileage from house to studio, according to my accountant. So if you make sure you're taking care, like anytime you go get supplies, anytime you go to the bank, anytime you do anything that could be related for business purposes, make sure you take down that mileage and write that down. Some things that there's a software you can use is QuickBooks. So like QuickBooks Online, or I think there's a phone. But like I said, I use a Google Sheet because I don't have that much mileage because I do online marketing, and two, my expenses can still be kept within a Google Sheet. But like I said, there's a lot of good software programs out there, especially for you guys that are doing like buying supplies all the time and stuff like that. I would definitely make sure you keep track of it. So does anyone have any questions about this so far? Is it making sense? Let me scroll down. All right, cool. So that's deductions. Other things you can deduct is traveling. So you got to be a little careful with this, like make sure it's for business purposes. For example, I'm going to Anchorage next week to do a marketing masterclass. Luckily, it's in a beautiful place that I'll be moving to soon, but it is in Anchorage, so that's a business trip. So I can deduct my plane tickets. I can deduct my hotel room. When it comes to meals, you have to keep really good records, because you can deduct like 50% of your meal if it's for business purposes. So that's one thing. I'm going to deduct my rental car. And so basically what I'm saying is, like, if, let's say I go to Anchorage and I make $3,000, well, if I'm going to be taxed on that. But if my expenses, like plane trip, hotel, all that, are like $2,500, then I'm going to deduct that, and I'm only going to make only going to have $500 of profits in the books. And so that's all I can be taxed on, is $500. And so that's kind of how deductions work. Some other really good ones, and this is something I was bad about last year on myself because I just got too busy, but I've been making it a priority this year to grow my brand. And I'm going to talk about brand in a minute and why it's so important. But I've been using these advantages or these tax deductions to really grow my brand. So what do I mean by that? Like getting a nice looking website, that's all deductible for my business. Maybe a logo, that's deductible. Marketing, so Facebook advertising, hiring someone like me, doing an online course. Like education is a great deduction. So a lot of you go to different trainings, that's all deductible. A lot of you go my online course, that's all deductible. So all these things that you're using a good way to think about it is anything you're using for business purposes or to make your business better, or anything you can relate to your business, definitely deduct that. Yes, I totally recommend getting a business bank account. I'm not going to go into whether you should have an LLC or an S corporation, or if you don't have any of that stuff, you'll be taxed as a sole proprietor. Even if you do have an LLC, if you're by yourself and you don't have an S corporation, then you're still going to be you're going to be a pass-through entity, which means that basically the laws are going to pass to you, and you're still going to get self-employment tax, which sucks. And that's why I became an S corporation this year, so I can avoid those self-employment taxes on all my income. And so that's a little bit more advanced, and that's definitely where you should talk to an accountant. But the big picture is, like, anything you use for business, write that off, deduct it, or at least write it down so you can give to your accountant. Keep those receipts. I don't keep all my receipts organized, because like I said, I'm not very organized. But what I do is I write down the date and maybe like my payment method, and that way it helps me find it better if I need it. Let's see. All right, so that's kind of a tax thing. One person, or I've had a few people ask like about refunds. Like if you're getting a refund, it basically means that you've mismanaged your money. And this is something they don't teach in school either. Like my whole life, my parents were like, oh, we're going to get a tax refund and go on vacation. Well, if you get a tax refund, then it means you've overpaid in taxes, and it's basically like an interest-free loan you're giving to the government instead of using that money to help yourself. And so it kind of screws yourself over. The other thing is if you're getting a refund, it means you're not making much money. Like I don't get refunds anymore. I have to pay a crap ton of money to the government. So even though that sucks, it's a goal to have, because that's all part of being more successful. Let's see, taxes. I'm trying to think of anything else before we go into brand. And like I said, if you're just joining me, I've got some very exciting news coming up after this, and I'm going to talk about 3 ways or 3 things you should ask about your brand to grow it for your business. Does anyone else have any other questions on taxes? Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, but this is very important stuff to understand, because if you don't understand it, then you don't know if your accountant's being lazy or not. Cool, we got quite a few people on here. All right, so taxes, I'm trying to think of anything else that you would want to know. Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes to brand and how tax deductions can help that, like if you pay, like let's say you pay $500 a month to advertise, or $1,000 a month to advertise, we'll say 1,000 to keep it simple, numbers. If you pay $1,000 to advertise, then really after you deduct those expenses and stuff, depending on how much you make, you could only be paying like $600 for that. And so think of everything as the more money you make, the more deductions you want to have, because if you're using them smartly, because all that stuff becomes a discounted rate. Another thing is you can have your own company car. Like, this is for people who probably make at least more than 6 figures, but you can buy if you can buy any SUV that or truck that weighs over 6,000 pounds, you can deduct 100% of that this year. Or if you get a car, you can, I believe you deduct partial for 3 years, and so you schedule it out. So that might be more practical. But these are all things to bring up to your accountant. Cool. So that was about taxes. If you're just joining, just after this, I'll post this on the group, and you can go back and rewatch it. All right, so now I'm going to talk about 3 things you should be asking yourself about your brand. And first, I'm going to explain what brand is, because I see this is a word that gets thrown out a lot. 1 second. All right. Yeah, this is a word that gets thrown out a lot because, and I don't think many people really understand what brand is. And so I'm going to give you my best perception, or what I really think it is. So for me, your brand is kind of your identity. So what do people think of you? What do people think of your business? And kind of, when I say that, we're obviously talking about business. For a lot of you, if you're solo business owners or you have a small business, which is probably 100% of you, then it's really about you. Like, for example, like even though I had PMU marketer, like my brand identity is what do people think about me, since I'm the one doing the majority of the work, since my face is on the business. So brand is really, to me, it's like, if you think about if you say any company name like Nike, what do you think about? If you say like Coca-Cola, what do you think about? And so that's really brand to me. And yeah, so I'm going to go over 3 questions that I came up with. So number 1 is, for your brand, what makes you unique? And you've got to really figure this out before, or like as you're starting out, or like at any point, you've got to just sit down today or tomorrow and think about what makes you unique. Because the issue I see is a lot of you are in areas where you're offering the exact same service as many other people. And so if you don't set yourself apart and say, why am I unique? And if you look and act just like all the other same businesses that offer the same services, then honestly, the only way, like, then you become a commodity. When you're a commodity, when it comes to supply and demand, the only way you can really increase your sales is either like, you can get attention, but for the people that do the research and see that, like, all right, this person looks the same as this person, so what do you think they're going to go for? They're going to go for the lowest price, because to them, that's all they see the difference. Like, okay, this before and after looks about the same as this before and after. This person's $100 cheaper, so I'm going to go with the cheaper one. And so you can't blame people for this, because this is natural. I guarantee you do the same thing. You go to the grocery store, and if you see like different brands, if they look like the same product and there's not really any difference, like it's not gluten-free or it's not cage-free, or they haven't done the work to really set themselves apart, you're going to go for the cheaper item. I do the same thing. And so this is really, you've got to stop being a commodity, and you've got to become a really unique business. It's just, I do the same thing. Like, there are tons of people that offer Facebook advertising. There are tons of people who are marketers and stuff. But why am I successful than a lot of those people? It's because I offer something, and I've set myself up to make sure that I'm very unique. Like, the things that I offer, like, I don't just offer Facebook advertising, I include other things with it. And even if I did just offer Facebook advertising, my experience, my knowledge, my skill set is very unique. And I make sure to tell people that. So same thing with you. You might be in a saturated area, but if you can show people why you're unique, why you're different, then they're going to book with you more. They're going to pay extra to come to you. And it's really not that complicated. It's just one of those things you've got to sit down and figure it out. And I'll give you some tips to do that. One, I guarantee you that 99% of you, the number one thing that makes you unique is not the level of training you have, not the skills you have. I mean, I know that's blasphemy in this industry, but it's all about you. And so I kind of think of it as like, you can't say unique without saying you. You are what you are what the difference is between someone down the road and yourself. And what do I mean by that? Well, you're a unique person. You have a unique personality. You look different than the other person down the road. You act different. You're in a different location. And so all these factors, you've really got to kind of understand yourself, and like self-awareness is huge. And so if you kind of understand yourself and just honestly just be yourself, like whether you're someone that's shy and quiet or whether you're outgoing and extroverted, like just be yourself. Like people respect that. As human beings, we have a very high, what I call bullshit meter. And so if you're trying to be fake, if you're trying to be perfect, if you're trying to put on this front, then people instantly sniff that out. And that's why, like, if you look at a lot of the prominent people in this industry, they're ones they might say controversial things, but and that's a whole nother topic on itself, but they are unique. And so really just the best advice I can give you for number one is be yourself. Figure out who you are and just be yourself. A lot of you are shooting yourselves in the foot when it comes to marketing, because you're literally like, I'll look at your Facebook page. It's like a generic logo, and then it's like a generic cover photo, and you're making like generic quote posts, and you're maybe showing some before and afters. And when I look at your page, it's like, okay, this looks like 1,000 other pages I've already seen, like whoop-de-doo. And that's the same thing people are thinking, is like, there's nothing really to hook them in. There's nothing to captivate them. There's no emotional connection there. It's like, if people are going to trust you to do permanent makeup or do whatever service, then they want to be able to know who you are. And without going to the second one, well, this is a good transition to the second point. So the first one is what makes you unique. The second one is what experience are they going to have when they come to you? What experience does your brand or your business give people? Like, what is that feeling? Like, a lot of you saw my post recently about the expensive shoes, and I think it was Louis Vuitton. And so the point of that post was like, people will overpay for this brand, whereas like if I was just gonna say like, here's a pair of shoes, I want you to pay $900 for it, you'd be like, you're crazy. But if I sold you the experience and like what you're really gaining from that, you're not just gaining a pair of shoes, you're gaining confidence, you're gaining self-love, you're gaining respect from other people. Like, all these things are what the real value that's provided. It's not just about it's not just about the actual product or the actual service. And you guys got to realize that it's not just about having eyebrows. It's not just about having eyelashes, not just about whatever. It's about what feeling and experience, what value are they going to get from it? Are they going to be more self-confident? Are they going to feel like they can be more outgoing? Are they going to be able to, are other women going to look at them and say like, wow, I love her brows. Like, are they going to get attention from it? Like, people love attention. And so think about all these things, like maybe homework for tonight, write out like 2 or 3 of your services. If you only have one, that's fine. And try to write like 3 to 5 things that people are going to benefit from, or how they're going to feel when they have your service or product. And so that's very important to brand. And so, like I said, being unique, asking what experience and feeling are they going to get. And so, like I said, don't just make people, and this is like, social media is just a way to reach people. What people focus on is really up to how good your marketing is. And so if you're only posting before and afters, if you're only posting your product, if you're only posting specials and deals, then people are going to, they're going to say like, okay, this is the product or service. Now let me compare that to somebody else's product as I'm shopping around. All right, this is a special deal. So now I'm thinking about cost. Okay, it's $100 off. So what's the original cost? Okay, so now it's all about money. And so you don't realize it, but all your marketing tactics you're doing, you're just making people focus on the wrong things. You're not you're not really conveying the true sense of brand or the true sense of value that you're providing to people. And hopefully this has kind of opened up a light bulb, or like sparked a light in some of your ideas or some of your thinking. Let me give you another one. So number 3. So number 1 was, what makes you unique? Like, what makes your brand? What makes your business? What makes you unique with your business? Number 2, what experience and feeling are they going to get when they get your product or service? Like, how's it going to make them feel? What's the experience like when they're there? Like, a lot of people, like, people go to spas, like, for massages or whatever, facials, not necessarily because, like, it's something that's going to help them for the rest of their life, or something that they can take with them. It's about that experience, like feeling pampered, feeling relaxed, feeling like you are treating yourself. And so all these things are what you really should be selling. Like, what I'm saying is, don't sell your product or your service so much. And I trust me, I have the same issue sometimes. Sometimes I get so focused on all the value I provide with my advertising service or my course that I forget to actually, like, sell what it really means to have all that stuff. And so this is all stuff that I'm trying to improve myself. And number 3, when it comes to brand identity, why should people care? Like, if you're selling me something, or you have a product or service, like, why should I care? So many of you I see, like, make the mistake that you assume people actually give a crap. So what do I mean by that? Well, you're posting these things, or you're posting a picture of your work, and then you get 0 likes because you made a vital mistake. All your content, you're assuming people actually care. People don't care. Like, people care about themselves. And so unless you're really conveying how you're providing value to them and how you can help them, then they don't care. Like, I see so many posts as like, oh, follow for follow, go follow my page, go like my page, like, let's all like each other's Instagram. Like, if you don't give people a reason to like your stuff, if you don't provide value to them, then they don't care. And maybe obviously if you're in business, you do provide value, but you're just not conveying that message the correct way. You're not really zoning in on like, hey, these are some good tips, or hey, this is what I offer, or like, this is how I can help you. Like, this is the feeling that you're going to get with this stuff. You're not conveying that stuff. You're just like, hey, here's my service, like, come in for a special deal, or here's my service, and that's it. Or here's my product. And so give people a reason to care. Like, why should they care about what you're telling them? Why should they care about what you're offering? Why should they follow your page? Like, all these things, you have to go back and ask why. Like, there's a book that says, like, start with why. And that's, I think, in anything you do in life, start with why. Because, like, where does, like, a lot of people ask me, like, how do you work so hard? How do you have so much time? Or, like, how do you have time to do anything? Because I also am obviously a military pilot full time. And so people ask me all this stuff, and it goes back to the why. Like, is it easy? Like, day to day, is it easy? No. But my why, my motivation, my reasoning for things are what really drives me and keeps me going. And so always start with why on everything you do. So cool. That if you're just joining in, go back and look at some tax, or go back and listen to my tax brief. And then I gave you 3 reasons what you should be asking. And now I've got some cool, exciting updates. So first update for you is, well, in general, I'm going to be coming out with a lot more content. And so if you want to start seeing more live videos like this, like little 15 to 30-minute videos, maybe sometimes 5 or 10-minute tips, then let me know in the comments. Because honestly, like, if I get a lot of comments on something, then I'm more likely to do it again, because it's like that psychological reinforcement. And so if you want to reinforce me and tell me that you want more value from me, then let me know in the comments. Just say yes, or anything you want. Like, I like encouraging words too. And so overall, you're going to see more content from me. You're going to see more videos. And then, one second, I got a question. Can you give us an example of how you would make them care, or offering value to them, a before and after pic, for example? So before and after pictures are cool, and they're obviously a vital part of what you should be doing. But the reason I don't stress before and after pictures very much is because you guys are already doing that. And so, yes, I still think you should have before and after pictures. And I guess I understand what you're saying. And so to simplify it, you don't have to necessarily provide a ton of value with every single post, but your overall brand, your overall content strategy should be to provide value. Because like, you can go look at my page, you can go look at my post in the group. Not every single post is providing a ton of value. Like, some posts are just like shameless plugs, some posts are reviews, but overall I'm providing a ton of value, which is why you continue to watch my stuff, you continue to like my stuff. It's because you know you're gonna get something. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, I'm more than happy to give knowledge, and I like it. So basically what I'm trying to say is, like, let's say you want to do a before and after picture. Well, maybe instead of just saying like, love this work, blah, 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 like you normally do, why don't you say something like, here are the top 3 tips I have for brows. And then like, and at the bottom line, you can say like, and here's an example of what a microblading before and after looks like. Let me know if you have any questions. And so that way you're like at least educating people a little bit, or you're giving them a beauty tip, or it's not, I mean, like, you want to educate, but you can also entertain. So maybe you can do something entertaining, like maybe you can say a quote or a story. Like, people love story. Like, here's the best quote of today. Facts tell. So it's good to tell facts, and then stories sell. And so if you really want to sell people, start telling more stories. Like, and that goes back to building your brand, like your personal identity. If you are scared to get yourself on your page, or you're scared to put a human face on the page, then you're losing, because people want to do business with other people. People want to have interaction with other people. And so if you're only focused on your product and service, and you're not developing that, telling a story about yourself, or entertaining people with your stories, then you're losing on that. We got a lot of people saying yes, more videos. Cool. And like I said, like, you don't have to do a ton of value for every single post, but overall try to give people a reason to follow your page, give people a reason to come back. And the thing is, like, you don't, like, giving is very good. So like, giving value, giving tips, giving, educating people on your services is great, but also don't be afraid to get yourself out there. Like, if people are connected to you emotionally, if they feel like they know you, if they like you, like, people do business with people they like too. So if they feel like they like you, they're more likely to like that post. They're more likely to share your post, because they have they at least like you enough to want to help you, because you've been providing value, you've been getting yourself out there. And so these are just different. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And I teach this a lot on my course. And I'll be coming out with more stuff for it this year. Some other announcements I want to make is, okay, so this is a big one. I've been flirting with the fact, or kind of tipping you guys off for a while. It's just, it went on the back burner the past few months because I've been re-optimizing my whole service. And so, but now I'm at a point to where I'm actually going to launch a podcast. And so I personally love podcasts. I like driving on the road, listening to them, or like, the thing about me is I hate wasting time. And so if I can learn something and maximize my time when I'm like driving, or when I'm showering, or when, I don't know, when I'm working out, or when I'm doing something, or running, I love listening to podcasts and learn, because I feel like that's a way to multitask. And so even if you're just like cleaning the kitchen or vacuuming, or I used to do it when I mowed the yard, like, listen to a podcast to learn so you can like start making your life better, to maximize your time. So yeah, long story short, I'm coming out with a podcast. It's going to be really awesome. It's going to be a lot of content to help you. It's going to be a lot of marketing advice. It's going to be business advice. And so this will be coming out soon, within, I would say, the next few weeks. And so look out for that. And I'll make more announcements on that soon. Another big announcement is I'm going to be making and I already kind of hinted at this too, I'm going to be making a little mini course training, like a free training. And the reason it's free is because recently I did a post I said if I got 200 comments, then I would make a course free. And so I'm coming out with a little course training on how to take deposits. And so whether you already have online booking or not, this is going to be very valuable for you, because it's going to give you either a primary or a backup way to make quick invoices, to send people ways to pay you and ways to take deposits, and it's very quick. There's even a phone app for it, so you can literally say new invoice and make it quickly, and then send them a link. You don't even have to have their email address, and so it's a very powerful system that I use personally now, and so I know it can help a lot of you, and so I'm coming out with a little training for that, so that that'll be probably within the next month. And then another cool thing is I know he's at the conference that I helped promote a lot in the United Kingdom right now, but I'm actually going to be traveling to see Will Anthony and Jen Boyd. We're having a mastermind, really kind of like, I'm not going to drop too many details right now, but it's going to be something that's very valuable soon, that's going to give a lot of business advice, both from my perspective, working with thousands of people, and from their perspectives, very successful artists, very successful trainers. And so there's going to be multiple successful opinions in there, and it's going to be very, very valuable. So that's something to look forward to. But like I said, if you enjoyed this if you enjoyed me taking 30 minutes of my Saturday to help you and to give you my best advice and tips, then all I ask is you comment below and let me know, so I can get that reinforcement, so I can feel good and feel like I kind of contributed today before I go into making some ads and making my doing my taxes and stuff. So all right, I'm not going to keep you any longer. Thank you for watching. Like I said, if you missed out on the first part, go back and rewatch that when I post this, and I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks.